Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Danny and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Watching My Stories.
Hi.
I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And here we are again some more.
Here we are.
So it's been 3 weeks. We were going to do this last weekend, but it was Mother's Day. And honestly, I had a rough day that day. So I didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
We're just going to be honest.
Yep.
So I decided to put it off. We were going to try and do it like during the week, and that didn't work. And what's happened is I've watched a ton this week. So this is actually going to be a pretty long podcast. I'm going to try to keep some things really simple, but we know how I go. Plus, for those of you who are here just solely to listen to John, he has watched quite a few things as well. So he's going to have a lot of input in this.
You mean people are here just
episode.
for me?
I would assume so.
Oh, wow.
They wouldn't be here for me.
Oh, the pressure. Oh, that's not true.
Blah, blah, blah. And we are going in the Actors Corner. We're going to talk about Stanley Tucci.
Mm-hmm.
But before everything, we have a new addition to the show. John just asked me if he could tell some jokes.
Oh.
So we are going to segue into
boy.
John's Joke Corner.
Okay, so
I wish I had a jingle.
Put some change in your pocket.
For a little jingling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Then you'd have a jingle. In all fairness...
That wasn't a joke, right?
No, that
Okay.
wasn't one of the two.
Okay.
No, in all fairness, I just got off of TikTok and I saw a couple dad jokes. And I asked Danny if I could tell them to her. And she's like, and I said, I know, I'll save them for the podcast. And before I knew it, she agreed. And now here we are. And I'm not sure it's worthy, but we're going to do it anyway. All right. So do you know where you are in life when you slap Dwayne Johnson on the butt?
Do I know where I am in life when I slap Dwayne Johnson in the butt?
Yeah.
Heaven?
No. You've hit rock's bottom.
That's not funny.
Why are we
Okay. Joke number 2.
Well, it's not really a joke. It's a pickup line for the pandemic.
Okay.
And it was a guy seeing a girl across the bar and asking her if that was hand sanitizer in her pocket or is she just happy to be within 6 feet of him.
Wah, wah.
I should have led with that.
Yeah, that would have been great. Yeah. Anyway.
You've hit rock's bottom.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Try and get some more for the next one.
We're off to a jovial start.
Yes.
Sorry, everybody.
You might have to write some down for the next one.
Yeah,
But he
man.
is just stealing these off of TikTok, so everyone knows.
Since that went so well, I'm going to do it again. Sorry about the dud at the end.
Yeah. Let's not do that again. Okay. We're going to go in the movies.
If we must.
All right. The first movie I'm going to talk about is The Woman in the Window. This came on Netflix just this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's with Amy Adams. There's like a million people in this. Amy Adams, Julianne Moore, Gary Oldman, Russell
Crowe.
Wyatt Russell.
Okay.
Sorry. Who else? I mean, like, there's just a million people in it. Anyway, this is one of those like Rear Window type things where, you know, she's an agoraphobic and she witnesses a murder across the way, and you know, so it feels very typical. It feels very like we've seen this before, and a lot of the thing as I'm watching, that's what I'm saying is like we've seen this before, you know. At the end, it switched and it got really almost hokey.
No way.
Yeah, it felt very. It was like there was this one scene where she like. A little spoiler, but she gets hit in the face with like one of those 3-pronged rake gardener things, and the way it was done with it, whether it was a wax figure or so, and the noise, it was like and it lasted forever. It kind of made me chuckle. Actually, it was such a bad
that noise
effect
came out of her.
Yeah, supposedly. So it was the end.
Should have gone. Oh.
Okay. Oh no. So anyway, it was, there was a little twist. There's a reason that she's agoraphobic. You find out about, Anthony Mackie's in this as well. New Cap. And, so there's, you find out little things, and then there's like a little twist as to what's really going on and stuff. And it was, it was entertaining enough that I kept watching it. And the twist was not crazy surprising, but I didn't see it coming. But I also wasn't really trying. Like, it wasn't a movie where I was like, oh, I got to figure this out, So whatever.
But isn't that every movie for you? Don't you just naturally try to figure things out?
I do. And so when I'm not, that's because I feel like there's not a lot to really figure out.
Good enough for you to put effort into?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it's worth a watch if like you're, again, I watched it Friday and it was like a nice little afternoon watch. Not scary, a little tense.
If you're a fan of Amy Adams, it's a watch.
I really, I guess so. I like that she's getting into these things where she's not that ingenue anymore. It's so much better to watch her. But she's also kind of gone in the other way where she's always like this very damaged person. So it's like, okay, let's find a middle mark here. But anyway, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, somewhere between the Muppet Show and like American Hustle would be good.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption.
But they're doing a second Enchanted, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, that'll be good.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so that's The Woman in the Window on Netflix. Next one I'm going to talk about is on HBO Max, Those Who Wish Me Dead. This is Angelina Jolie, Nicholas Hoult, Tyler Perry showed up in for a second. Shane from Walking Dead. Oh, what's his name? I don't know. He'll always just be Shane from Walking Dead.
David Barenthal? Is that Shane?
John Barenthal.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. I got you
there. So I was not like crazy to watch this. They advertised the crap out of it, and again on Friday I was like, okay. I guess it was based off of a book, so okay. This felt all over the place. The point of it is Angelina Jolie is like a hotshot, firefighter, the hotshots. And she's in one of the towers because she just had this kind of horrible tragedy happen while she was on the job. And at the same time, this kid and his father's running from these people who are trying to kill him. And they kill the father, and the kid gets away and meets up with her. And she starts trying to protect him from these people. It was a little weird. Like, first off, Angelina was, and I hate to say such a thing because it sounds really bad, she was too beautiful in this. I know that sounds really weird, but she was too beautiful in this. Like, she would come out of getting her ass kicked and like still have perfect makeup and hair. Like, they really like, even like she spent the night protecting this kid in the woods in the middle of a fire, laying in a creek. And then when they're at the ambulance, like, again, her hair is perfect. Like, it's a perfect wig that they stuck her, like something went wrong there with the whole makeup and hair department in this, which I'm just saying it pulled me away.
It lost its believability.
It pulled me out of the reality of it. Sure. So that's number one. Number two, in the beginning when she was first this hotshot and she's hanging out with the guys and stuff, I saw the badass Angelina back. The badass chick from Hackers, from Girl Interrupted, even from any of the action movies where she's done. We haven't seen badass Angelina in a while, and I kind of saw that flicker in her eye again. But it went away pretty quickly. And then I was like, I think she's just miscast in this. It didn't feel right for her at all. It felt like she wasn't even acting. Like, it felt very much like it was so beneath her ability. Like, I don't know how to express it. It just felt like, what a waste. What a waste of her talent on this movie, I think is what I was feeling. Again, I'm a fan of hers. Some other people can't stand her and don't like her, but I think she's a great actor, and so I felt like she was wasted in this. And again, the whole movie part was weird. Nicholas Hoult being a badass killer was a little weird, but he also did really well. But it felt all over the place. So
okay,
again, you want to spend a weekend because there's nothing else to watch? Sure. Don't expect a lot out of it. But again, I sat there and I watched it. I watched the whole thing. I wanted to see how it was going to end up. So I can't say it's a not watch. Would I ever watch it again? No.
Okay.
So
I think that tells us all we need to know there.
yeah, that's on HBO Max. Next movie is a movie that I wanted to watch last year. I think it came out towards the end of the year. And I didn't get a chance to, and now it's on Hulu. It's called Songbird. This is with AJ Kappa, who is Archie from Riverdale.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
And Sophia Carson, she's on the Descendants,
Nope.
Disney Descendants musical movies.
Keep trying.
Will be.
I'm sorry. Who's that?
I don't.
Oh,
Anyway.
boy. Oh boy, pet name snuck in.
Craig Robinson is in this. Bradley Whitford, Demi Moore. Anyway.
Okay, yeah, those I know.
Those people you know. So this was a very interesting movie. It's set in I believe 2023 because they have fought COVID-23. The strains of this COVID-19 that we've been dealing with apparently have replicated and become this COVID-23 where basically I think they announced over 100 million people in the world had died. The movie takes place in LA. Most of LA is either dead or on lockdown. And by this time, everyone just stays in their house. No one's allowed out ever. There are some immune people that have a bracelet that are allowed out. They've figured out how to pass, groceries and things like that. Everyone has a box built into their homes so that you can put something in and it disinfects it and then you can take it into your home.
Sure.
Otherwise, everyone lives at home. The Department of Sanitation is in charge of everything for some reason in LA. But it also seems like there are other cities around where they have things under control. Anyway, it was basically that. It was kind of a tense movie based around this. Everyone every morning has to use their phone to scan themselves for the virus. If the virus is in them, then the Department of Sanitation is notified and they come and get you. And they get you and they get everyone in your household and take you to the quarantine zone, which is basically set up like slums. So it's a horrible place to go, especially if you're not sick, just because someone in your house is sick. So it's following these people. And this movie is kind of really a tale of the class system. So if you're poor, and stuck in your home and maybe someone gets sick versus rich people who start to try to play with the system and how they figure out how to manipulate immunity bracelets or make more money or, that sort of thing. It's very interesting kind of on that. But it was not as good as I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be more about like the survival of an apocalypse type thing, of a pandemic. And it kind of turned into this classist tale, which makes sense. But, that's where the Demi Moore and Bradley Whitford thing came in. They were the rich people. I enjoyed it. Again, I enjoyed it, but this isn't something I would like I didn't contact my sister or anything and say, oh, you got to watch this movie. I did after The Woman in the Window. I'll let you know that. So I did tell her to go watch that.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of, it's a weird scale, but that's kind of how I know if I'm actually going around and saying to people in my life, like, oh, you got to go watch this movie.
Well, this is your podcast, so the scale should be based on you. So if that's the criteria,
okay,
that's fine.
Anyway,
it's not weird.
So that's Songbird on Hulu. I did like everyone in it. I am fans of Sophia Carson and AJ KJ.
See, you don't even know who these people are.
We had a huge breakfast again today.
Oh,
and
man.
I swear it saturates my brain.
Sorry, everybody.
He makes the best breakfast.
The potatoes went straight to her head.
They did. Okay, so that's on Hulu, Songbird. Next movie is Without Remorse. This was Amazon Prime. This was the big one. Michael B. Jordan that they kept advertising. It's Tom Clancy's story and all that. here's what I'm going to say. I guess I'm not a huge Tom Clancy. That's all the Jack Ryan stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I've never seen any Jack Ryan movies. I, of course, love Jack Ryan, the show with John Krasinski. I love that, but I'm not so familiar with movies and stuff. This is Michael B. Jordan was playing John Kelly. I don't know if there's a ton of books with this character. I don't know any of that. But the action in this movie was crazy. Like, it was really well done. Tons and tons and tons and tons of action. Not a lot else. There was not, to me, the storyline wasn't big enough. There was not a lot of dialogue. The beginning totally got me. Like, there was this whole thing that happens, and then John Kelly's, like, his military crew, they did something, and then someone starts killing off his entire crew, and they come after him in his home, and they kill his pregnant wife, and it was just horrible and devastating. So the rest of the movie is him figuring out who that was and getting his revenge. It's just after that point, that's kind of all it was just action scene after action scene after action scene. I'm not going to complain about watching Michael B. Jordan doing action scenes. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Sure.
But I also love him so much that I love his acting so much too, and I felt like that was missing a little bit. This felt pure action to me,
too one-dimensional.
Yeah. I kind of kept going, okay, after this scene, is there going to be some kind of
dialogue
discussion or something? You know, so it was a little, to me, it just felt too one-sided on the action.
Sure.
But he did a great job, and there was the story behind it was okay. Just, I don't know if it just wasn't interpreted enough, or if maybe that's just not my, it's just not my style. It's not my thing, you know, because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
So
since we now have a new scale, are you going to tell your sister to watch it?
I didn't.
Okay.
I asked my mom if they had watched it, because this was more my dad's type of speed.
Right.
So he loves Tom Clancy, and they did watch it and they loved it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I don't know. You know,
I myself like Tom Clancy. I mean, Hunt for Red October and Clear and Present Danger are two of my.
Never seen it.
I know. I know. We keep saying that one of these weekends.
Are those both Harrison Ford, or is one of those Alec Baldwin?
The Hunt for Red October is Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
But they're both Jack Ryan.
I saw the Chris Pine one, and I didn't really like it. So
I didn't really care for that one either. For some reason, the ones in the 80s and 90s were best.
But see, you should watch Jack Ryan. We should definitely put that on our list.
So here's the deal I'll make you.
You would like it.
Here's the deal I'll make you.
Oh, no.
I'll watch John Krasinski's series if you watch Hunt for Red October.
That's Alec Baldwin?
Yeah.
Is that Sean Connery, though?
Yes.
Oh.
One pig, Mr. Scott.
As he slaps his wife? Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
Didn't he just die?
Whoa.
R.I.P.
Did he?
Anyway, yeah, he did.
I don't. Anyway.
We'll let me think about it.
Yeah, that sounds like a bigger discussion.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Without Remorse, Amazon Prime. Last movie I'm going to talk about is an anime movie on Netflix called The Mitchells versus the Machines. This had a lot of voices in it. Danny McBride, Maya Rudolph, Abby Jacobson, Olivia Colman, a lot of SNL people, I think, like what's his name, Beck Bennett was. So anyway, this movie was so good. It was so fun and so entertaining. So it was the same people that made the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I remember how that animation was just like a completely different kind of animation.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. It's a family, the Mitchells. They call themselves the worst family in the world. And the girl, she's getting ready to go off to college. She's been making like little videos and movies all her life, and that's her passion. And so she's finally going to college, and she's found her people, she believes, you know, because her family never understood her and never understood these movies she made. And so this is all told like from her point of view, and so it's all about like this creativity. So it's all the normal animation that you're watching, but then she adds her flourishes of things that I can't even describe. You just have to watch it. It's so well done. And then so what happens is a guy who's created like the iPhone type thing. It's called PAL. He's made this phone, and it's gotten to the point where the phone basically can do everything for you, just like we saw the Google phone now can do their Google Assistant. This PAL does that as well, but now he turns it into a robot because he's like, well, now you've got robots that can do everything for you. Well, as we all know, if AI ever becomes a thing, they will take over and destroy us. So that's what starts happening. And Olivia Colman plays the lead pal phone thing, and so her voice is just hysterical. So this happens on the cross-country road trip to take the daughter to college.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow this worst family in the world ends up outsmarting these robots and ends up kind of taking them on. And it's so funny. Some of these things, like they end up taking a couple robots in that like malfunction, and they're so funny. And it's also super touching. Like again, because the father and daughter have an issue. The brother seems in my opinion to be an autistic character, which is actually pretty wonderful. He's definitely neurodivergent in some way. And it's all about just this kind of everyone being themselves and learning to, like, the relationship between the brother and sister is beautiful. And then just this family coming together. And it's one of those where it sprung up on me. Like, I watched it and I actually fell asleep. And I woke up like for the end, and I was like, oh, I don't want to see the end because I'm going to go back and watch it. And that's not normal for me. Like, I'll fall asleep during anything. It's not that this movie was bad. I just happened to be laying down, and so I fell asleep. So be laying down. It's not the movie's fault whatsoever. So normally I'm like, oh, I'll go back and watch it. And I never really do that if it doesn't really interest me. But this one, I went back the next day, and I went back to the point that I remembered, and I rewatched it, and I'm so glad I did, because it was just so heartwarming and wonderful, and the animation is it's fantastic. Like, I can't even describe it. You just have to watch it. So this is great for families. This is great for everyone. I told you that I want us to go back and watch it because I think you'll really enjoy it. Definitely recommend this for everyone.
Okay.
It's on Netflix. It's so much fun. And a lot of funny stuff, and that's where I want to be able to go back and watch it, because I think there's a lot of like really funny things that I can pick up on and remember. So that's The Mitchells versus the Machines. I'm really excited for everyone to see this. I think this is going to be a big thing at the awards at the end of the year too, because I'm not sure that there's another animated movie that can come close to this. So yeah, so that's that. Okay, so moving on to television. First thing I wanted to talk about was just a little Disney short that came out. We're going to talk about it because Soul was your favorite movie of last year. And they came out with a little short called 22 versus Earth. And so Tina Fey came back as 22. And this takes place before Soul, like way before Soul, where she starts to try and recruit others to like destroy Earth, basically, because she thinks Earth is a horrible place and she never wants to go there. I just wanted to bring it up because it's adorable.
It was cute,
and Pixar does the best shorts. And if you liked Soul, you definitely want to go back and watch this. For sure. It
was like 10 minutes, maybe. Something like that. It was good. It was cute.
Definitely. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh boy.
So I already talked about this, obviously, but I got John to watch it. And it was interesting because you liked WandaVision. And so I knew you were going to like this, but I didn't know. Didn't know.
To what extent?
Yeah, I just didn't know. Because it is a little, WandaVision was, I don't know. I just didn't know. So anyway, go ahead, because I know you have a lot that you want to say.
Well,
we have yet to really talk about it.
I don't know how much it's going to be, but I do have definite opinions. So first off, I'm going to say that WandaVision, I don't think I liked WandaVision as much as you did. WandaVision was definitely, for me, a thing that you almost had to kind of discipline yourself to stick with, because the last several episodes were really good. But the first several episodes were setting up the story, and you really have kind of no idea where it's going, and you really kind of have to. It would be very easy for me, somebody like me, the casual observer, to really drift off and just say, nah, I don't think I want to continue this. So you kind of had to force yourself to stick with it, and it paid off. Falcon and the Winter Soldier had me hooked immediately.
So first off, I just want to point out to people, you've never seen Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
No.
you claim that you never saw Civil War, which I could swear I sat with you with Civil War, but
No, I saw parts of it. I came in while you were watching it.
Oh, okay. And that so you only any kind of exposure to Falcon or the Winter Soldier was basically Infinity War Endgame, which isn't a huge deal.
No, they were very
You had no
small.
idea of their backstories or anything.
Correct.
So I just want everyone to know that if you haven't watched those movies or you really aren't familiar with Bucky or Sam, you obviously don't have to in order to watch this series.
I'm living proof that you don't have to know much about anything to really get into it.
Right.
Now, I knew that Sam was a big deal or was going to be a big deal or whatever because of how Endgame ended.
Sure.
Right? Where Cap basically passes
the
torch. And I thought that would be interesting. And then here it comes and whatever. But I had no idea the backstory and Sam's roots and Bucky's roots and things like that. And I'm still a little bit murky on Bucky's real roots.
Actual Winter Soldier stuff.
Yeah. But it didn't really matter to me. I enjoyed the heck out of this. I wanted there to be more episodes. I was so not ready for it to be done, even though the way it ended was really good.
Yeah.
I just, from episode 1, I was like, oh, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Anthony Mackie is really something. I mean, he's really good. And, I have to admit, I've developed kind of a man crush on Sebastian Stan. I can't help it.
Who has it?
I mean, dude, if you're looking for, it doesn't matter what you're looking for in a fella. This guy has to fit the bill. I mean, he's got the swagger.
Fella.
Well, anyway. Yeah, what can I say? But yeah, so it was really, man, I really don't know.
You said to me that you feel like this might be your favorite show ever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so let's put that out there.
Yeah.
Because that surprised me.
See, for me, it checked all the boxes. And there are very few shows that have done that ever. It had humor, it had action, it had good story, relatively believable if it's going to be comic booky or sci-fi or fantasy. A character or a duo with interaction that you care about.
Yeah.
And the relationship between these two, even though for them it was grudgingly, had to be one of the most fascinating and just interesting relationships I've seen.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the whole history of them and that they share the same best friend, just in different decades, almost different centuries.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting thing. You kind of go, well, we must be able to get along if he loved both of us too, like there must be something for us. And so you immediately want them to just get along, but it's also kind of fun that they don't right away, but we're also dealing with, Sam's dealing with the racism theme throughout the whole thing,
man.
And Bucky's dealing with the trauma response and trauma throughout the whole thing. So to see them both then work their way through and help each other, by Bucky saying, Steve and I, we had no clue what it meant to give you the shield. We could have never understood that.
Right.
And in that same conversation, Sam saying to Bucky, wise up. Like you've been revenging. You haven't been, making amends.
You're not healing or making amends.
Right.
You're just
getting revenge on everything.
Yeah.
So it's like in that one conversation for both of them to heal the racist or the trauma response that they're both dealing with. It's so well written.
Yeah.
And
which brings me to another big box for me, which is heart. I mean, this show and their interaction had so much heart and it was just it felt very genuine, which is really hard to pull off on a TV series because it's fake, it's put on.
Yeah.
But I genuinely felt that Sebastian Stan and Aaron Mackey really had a deep relationship.
Yeah.
It was just that good. So man, it was just.
Yeah, and I think this was a very, again, just like WandaVision introduced us to so much that's going to come in the movies. We learned a lot with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, and now with
Wyatt Russell.
Yeah, John Walker's now going to be U.S. agent.
Yeah.
There's a lot to come from this, and we'll definitely see this again. There's been rumors of a second season of this. I don't know how that's really possible because there's just going to be a Captain America movie. So, you know, where are we going to see Bucky show up? Who knows?
So as much as I would love that, and I mean absolutely love that, I really kind of want them to resist that temptation and not do it. I do
too, right.
You know,
leave it
with this.
Right.
I'll go back and watch it every week. You know, leave it at this because it was, you know, leave on a high note.
Right.
To me, this is probably the ultimate high note.
Yeah.
Way to leave a miniseries or
right.
You know, whatever.
And then go back and watch the show Assembled, which we talked about after WandaVision as well. Mm-hmm. When the series was done, Assembled then put out a whole making of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And again, it's just super interesting to hear how they talk about the backstory of everyone and bringing in the costumes and, you know, and the thing I love about this is that the whole villain, quote unquote, the Flag Smashers, like they don't really matter. I liked the storyline and it worked from the blip and understanding that people kind of felt like one world during those 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But like, because the real villains was racism and trauma, like we don't even really talk about the Flag Smashers at all.
That's true. I sort of forgot about them.
Yeah.
And they were
and I loved her. She's great.
Yeah. They were the predetermined enemy for those two in this series. And it's really interesting because, you know, you could really understand where they were coming from and sympathize with them and really, you know, they were doing bad things, but for a good cause.
Right.
So it was really that conflict, you know, it puts you in constant conflict with yourself as you're watching this because you know what they're trying to do and it's well intended.
Right.
But, you know, the collateral damage and the way they're doing it, you know, is just, you know, it's the wrong approach. So you vilify them, but you're not. But
that's why Sam had that same conflict with her and with them. Because he kept saying, I believe in what you're doing. You're just going about it the wrong way.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot to talk about, what's his face? The actual villain.
John Walker?
No. The Russian guy or whatever. The guy from Slovenia, not Slovenia. Whatever that's.
Oh.
I don't know his name.
Zemo.
Yeah. Him.
Yeah. Which is so weird that you didn't see Civil War, and so you really don't even have his backstory either. Which
now I do
Sokovia.
Because the series, that's it. Because the series gave it to us enough of a backstory to, I guess, to understand why he is the way he is and where he's coming from.
I guess.
But even him, who apparently was an actual villain in a previous movie or at a previous time for these guys. Even him, you kind of had that thing of, well, he's working with them and he's helping them, but he slinks off and what's he doing and all that stuff, and that added such a dynamic to it. But the three of them together, they were together a lot, just the three of them, and it was really just, a joy to watch.
Yeah,
really, and
the action's incredible.
Oh yeah,
CGI is incredible.
And watching that making of afterwards, it was exactly what I was expecting and kind of hoping for, is to hear that, you know, when the cameras weren't rolling, those three were, you know, they basically had to keep separating them because they, you know, were busting up and cutting up and stuff. And yeah, it's nice to see that they all genuinely, you know, got along. Where you hear some stories about, you know, on the set that, you know,
it doesn't seem to be the case in these Marvel casts, so, you know, but maybe we just don't hear about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking of others, but, you know, like Sherlock or something like that, where the camera rolls and it's awesome, and you think this is unbelievable. The relationship they have is great, and as soon as the cameras are off, they
don't like each other.
They have to be separated because they're going to kill each other. And it's like, first of all, I don't get it, but
they're both in the Marvel universe, so
but it's really just nice and refreshing to see that those three genuinely like each other.
So let me ask you this. You liked WandaVision. You've loved this show.
Yep.
Will you watch Loki?
As yet undetermined. I'm sure I will.
Okay.
Now Loki is a character, the actual character that Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
That character I don't care for.
You're not supposed to. He's a villain.
Right.
But he's fun.
Yes, but in a really super annoying way.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not sure that, that I'm going to, and if I knew that Thor was going to be in it a lot, then I'd be more interested. But if I don't know what it's going to be like, so
that'll be another one that maybe I watch first and see if
and
I want to.
And look, I mean, I think the formula is pretty established at this point. You're going to watch it, you're going to love it. You're going to tell me, and I'm going to grudgingly watch it, and I'm going to love it. So I may as well just watch it from the beginning.
I would think so. But we'll see.
It's a very long-winded way for me to say yes.
Yeah, so that comes out in a month, I think. A little less than a month. So we'll check that out. Anything else on Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Captain America?
I'm pretty exhausted.
Okay. Okay. So that's on Disney Plus, obviously. If you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Yes.
Okay, next series I'm going to talk about is Selena. The second part came out. That's not really a second season. They just kind of released it in 2 parts. So this was great. She's great. And of course I'm blanking on her name from Walking Dead again. She's so good. This was basically the second half where she ends up marrying Chris and then, starts on the crossover path and gets even more famous and all that stuff. And eventually, her murder. So I really enjoyed the second part as much as the first part. I think the second part was even more interesting to me because I like more of all of that and that music at that time. Everyone's good in it. I mean, there's nothing really bad to say about it. If you love Selena's music, if you loved her at all, even if you didn't, I think it's just a great story to watch because it is, it's an interesting story. She was so huge and well known and yet still living, next door to her parents in the same, which is the house that she grew up in. You know what I mean? Like it was like they were so low key and she really kind of had no clue that she was who she was, which I think is also maybe what got her into the trouble that got her into with this assistant.
Yeah.
And, so I also loved, I'll just say that, there's a lot of shows out there that kind of talk about what happened when she was killed and people have gone to the Days Inn where it happened and all that sort of stuff and seen the room and all that. What I loved about this series is they didn't make anything up. So, the only people that were there was her and Yolanda. And so they panned to one of the maids that was cleaning in a room above, and they didn't try and make up a conversation that happened in the room because it was just them. They didn't try and make up any sort of struggle or, and they also didn't show her getting shot. They didn't show her crawling across the entire courtyard to get to the lobby. They didn't do any of that, which I actually really appreciated, even though I just talked about it. I liked that they didn't focus on that. And then afterwards, like Yolanda sat in her truck all day and the cops surrounded her and she was going to kill her. Like they didn't do any of that for this series. I really loved that. It was very much more about Selena and her family and like her father finding out that she was in the hospital and all that sort of stuff. And so the death was not at all the focal point of this whatsoever. The death really was like the last half hour of 18 episodes or something like that, 20 episodes. It really was focused on her life, her light, which, what is her name? Why am I blanking on her name? Who played her? She encapsulated that perfectly. And the music. And so it was really just so much about all that. And it makes you just as sad, when you're watching it because she could have done so much music, and they even point out, because Beyonce has talked about it, that Beyonce saw her on the streets one day and freaked out. And Beyonce was a huge fan of her when she was like 13 or something, and one of those main things, as they've always said, is Selena probably would have been Beyonce level, and so it's just, it's a great story and someone that, again, I if you like the music, it's just really fascinating to watch. Quite a family unit too, a little hard family unit, but interesting. So anyway, that's on Netflix.
Okay.
The next series I'm going to talk about is on Peacock. This is by I just forgot her name. Meredith Sheridan, is that her name? The same people who did Kimmy Schmidt. This is Girls 5 Eva. This is with Sarah Bareilles, Renee Elise Goldsberry, Busy Phillips, and Paula Pell.
Yep.
The point of this show is that they were a girls group, like late 90s, early 2000s. they went the way that every girls group of that time went. They split up and didn't do much. And then they end up getting back together because a rap star like samples like one of their songs. And so they start getting out there again. And so the girls are like, oh, let's get back together and, do this thing. And so this is about them in today's world trying to reunite and get back together. And it's absolutely hysterical. I mean, first off, the talent of Sarah Bareilles and Renee Elise Goldsberry together is just like insane. And then Busy Phillips has got a great voice. She sings a lot on her Instagram, so she's got a great voice. And Paula Pell has a really nice voice. If you watch Wine Country, they sing a lot. All those women, then they get together, they sing. Paula Pell, I know I talked about it during Wine Country. She's one of those women that literally she can say anything and I laugh. And I found that watching this, that's what happened anytime she said anything. And it was like the stupidest thing, but her delivery to me is the funniest. And I love her so much. She makes me laugh so hard. Right. And her in this, she became a dentist when the group broke up. And so a lot of her jokes have to do with just dental stuff. And it's so silly, but her delivery is just perfect. And anyway, so it's a lot of fun. You just have to sit in it and just enjoy how fun it is. They revisit a lot of their songs from back then. And so Tina Fey's husband, Jeff Richmond, he wrote all this music, and all of those songs are just littered with references from the late 90s and early 2000s, which is hysterical. As well as they pick up on the fact that girl groups and girls singing at that time, they were really horrible songs, like I'm a Slave for You and things like that. So a lot of their songs are just really awful in that way of like being the other girl and I'll be fine because I'll, just horrible things. But it's so funny because when you sit there and think of it, you go, oh yeah, that's how those songs were. Yeah. And like they try to sing one of them at this age and they start to realize the words and they're like, wait a minute, this is what we were singing.
You can totally relate to that because we were sitting in the car yesterday at a stoplight and Whitney Houston's.
Oh my God. Yeah. Saving All My Love for You. I had never realized it was about the other.
And you were like,
I was singing away, and I was like, wait a minute.
It was the funniest thing because she's singing away, and all of a sudden it starts to get real soft, and it's like, oh my God.
That's about being the other woman and sitting there waiting for this man. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Watching the slow realization wash over somebody's face is just, oh my God, it was so awesome.
It was awful.
Anyway,
what a horrible song that is.
Yeah, but that was, to your point, that was so commonplace.
Right. And as a kid, I was belting that crap out. Oh, yeah. And I had no idea.
You were belting it out into your 40s.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, Girls 5 Eva on Peacock. All the episodes are a half hour. I literally sat and watched it, all 8 episodes, all in one sitting. I couldn't stop. They're so funny. They're so hysterical. And please give us a second season. I want one so bad. It's just hysterical. And the girls they all did their own singing. And it's a very much a feel good thing as well. Like kind of realizing your dreams, realizing, who you are and who you grow up to be might be different than what you thought and all that sort of stuff. I really do want you to watch it. I think you'll laugh.
Didn't I watch the first episode?
No, I just showed you the ending. I showed you that last performance.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Sorry.
So anyway, really funny, definitely worth it. Check it out on Peacock. Girls 5 Eva.
Yep.
Okay. Next thing I'm going to talk about is a concert that we watched last night by Jeremy Jordan. His concert was called Carry On. This you have to purchase on BroadwayWorld.com. I think it's like $35, and you have to go and purchase it, and they will send you a link. It aired originally like May 6th, and you can watch it up until May 24th, I believe. So I've got a few more days to go and watch it again and again. So anyway, I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Jordan. John, you are also.
I am, yeah.
Because I sit here and watch him on YouTube for long amounts of time, and John had to endure it, and so he became a fan because of that. But if you don't know who I'm talking about, Jeremy Jordan was on Smash. He was on Supergirl. I'm trying to think of things that people would.
I mean, the last 5 years.
The movie The Last 5 Years with Anna Kendrick, if you watch that. He was in Newsies. He was in Bonnie and Clyde. He's done a lot of Broadway stuff.
Yeah, he's a Broadway guy.
Yeah, but I was trying to come up with the shows that people would know him from. Anyway, best voice, best performer, just absolutely adore him.
Yeah.
And so I bought this concert because he did a concert. He does a lot at 54 Below, and he was bringing back this one from last year, and so they were selling it, and I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Little did I know it was going to be as impactful as it was. Like, I just wanted to hear him sing, and yet this was a dedication to his 2-year-old daughter, and it's set up in a way where he's wanting to lift out some baggage that he's carried of his life in order to make more room for her, like more love and light and everything for her. And man, I had no idea. He tells some stories of his childhood that's pretty hard. And so he'll tell a story and then obviously sing a song and that goes with it and stuff. And there were a lot of tears.
Yeah, it was very emotional.
Yeah.
And first off, for me, let me just say that he is my favorite male voice. I mean, the things he can do, and
yeah, like right now, like pause this, go to YouTube, Google Jeremy Jordan, watch him sing Celine Dion, watch him sing From Waitress, watch him sing even Frozen. I mean, it's
watch whatever comes out.
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
He's
gonna be really good. I mean, he's got great range, but it's just such a good, strong
performer. He acts when he sings.
He does. Yeah, so he brings more emotion to a performance than any other, I think, male performer I've seen. Yeah, I was not prepared for this either.
Yeah.
I have to say, I really, like you, I really wanted to hear him sing.
Yeah.
So if there's anything, it's not a drawback or it's not a negative. There were a lot of songs that he started that he didn't finish.
Yeah, in that medley section, there were some great songs.
Yeah.
And I was upset that they were just giving us cuts of
snippets.
them instead of the whole thing. Because I agree. I loved hearing his stories, but I definitely would have paid even more if it had been 2.5 hours long to hear all of those songs in full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give me that for $35 or for $100, it's just him singing song after song. Right. And no offense to how he wanted to do it. It was written and directed by him.
Yeah.
It's what he wanted to do, and it's good. It's really good. It's just, and if I had known that going in, okay, it is what it is, and you take it as it comes. But it's really hard to be a fan of Jeremy Jordan, the voice, and not be a little bit disappointed that you don't get more of it, because it's him singing is honestly only about half the show.
Yeah, I think it's about an hour and 20 minutes long, and I think we maybe get 7 or 8 songs. Full songs?
Full songs.
So
probably.
He's talking quite a bit. And again, I don't deny him that. I loved the stories. Like I said, it's very well done. And when you know it's for his daughter, it's absolutely lovely and beautiful. But yeah, I could just sit, and then I have. I'll just sit there and watch him song after song after song, and and that's great too. So it was like when he did sing, you were like, very taken and very drawn into it. Which again, maybe that's more the impact as well.
Yeah, maybe. I guess and maybe he's created this problem for himself, where he's got such a great voice,
right?
That
you just want it all
you
the time.
really that's just what you want.
Yeah,
and that's not this show, but I'm not disappointed or sorry that I watched it.
Yeah,
spent the time. I mean, it was time well spent, and I now know much more about him and his backstory, and some of it is very sad and very tragic, and just and like we talked about, you see somebody on stage or on screen, and they seem so well adjusted, and you can just and everything you hear about them is great and good and all this stuff, and you just kind of assume that they've either had a charmed life or an easy life or whatever, and you don't really think about how a Jeremy Jordan could possibly come from a broken home with abuse and all of that stuff, and how and the tragedy that he goes through, and
because when you have a talent like that that's so perfect, you think well, he must have been, just the light of everyone's lives, and he just was singing all the time, and rainbows and butterflies and whatever.
From the age of 3, it was just a straight path up.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
and that's
not so much.
Clearly not the case here, and for him to persevere, and also, like we talked about, he hasn't had the career he should have.
No,
he should be.
He should be above Ben Platt.
Well,
he should be above. I'll say it.
Okay. Okay.
He should be above Ben Platt. He should be above Zac Efron.
Yeah.
Because he should have had Zac Efron's job in The Greatest Showman. Should have been his
Game of Inches there, and
So he needs like a Marvel part or something, like he needs, because he just does, even if it's not a singing part, he needs to just be a bigger influence in the world.
So what this shows, and if you watch some of those other shows, is that aside from his singing, which to me is honestly second to none, he's a really good actor and a really good performer. He's just kind of a natural.
He was so good on Supergirl too, and he left because he wanted to be with his family. Like, they started filming in Canada, and his wife got pregnant, and so he just didn't want to be in Canada all the time. So he left the show. Which, again, you get this huge break to be on Supergirl, and he chose his family.
And that's the kind of guy he is.
So, but if you don't YouTube him, go watch the second season of Smash. Newsies. The musical is on Netflix. The last 5 years, I think, is on Amazon. Like, you can go and watch all of his movies and things. And the last 5 years, in my top 10. It's in my top 10 Broadway shows, but his rendition in that movie is just like heart-wrenching.
Yeah, Anna Kendrick is good.
Right.
And, but
his
he just, and honestly, I'm not as big a fan of the show as you are. It's interesting how they do it.
Yes.
The switch that happens over the entire show.
Right.
I've got.
You think it's depressing?
Well, it is. It's a dissolution of a marriage after over 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. But the music, and especially bringing that talent to it.
Right.
Some of those songs are just top 10, like you said, top 10. Man, it's just so good.
Yeah. So that's our our Jerry Jordan love fest there. But if you do want to watch this, you have a couple weeks, maybe until the 24th, to still buy this on BroadwayWorld.com and check him out and check out this concert. It's definitely worth it.
It's
sure.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah. Okay. Next show I'm going to talk about is Shrill. This is on Hulu. This was the third and final season. This stars Aidy Bryant. I've really enjoyed this show. I'm sad that it's over, but I'm also not. So I've enjoyed the show, but I've also been annoyed with it a little bit. There's a little bit too much of a millennial twist in this show for me. And every time it starts to redeem itself in the show, and then it falls back into it. And what I mean by that is just like Aidy Bryant's character is supposed to be this, she's figuring it out. She's a writer, she's figuring out life. She's dating guys, she does get one boyfriend that's just horrible. And that was part of what I mean was settling for something less than what you really deserve just because. And she ends up breaking up with him, which was great, and I was thrilled. But there was always this thing of the not wanting to grow up thing. It annoys me sometimes. And I felt that when I watched Girls too, which I know a lot of people don't even think about that show anymore. But there's just this and look, who am I to talk? I'm surrounded by toys and Funkos and our house we're not necessarily grown-ups. You know what I mean? So it's not that there's a mentality or there's something.
They're not toys, they're deluxe figurine sets.
That's right. Sorry, as Abu is staring at me from our
and my toy cars are collectible die casts.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes. Anyway.
Sorry.
So we go through this whole journey with this character of her discovering that she loves herself, all of that sort of thing, and I think that's great. And finally, in this third season, she gets into a real relationship with a real guy who's like
a real boy,
a professional. He's taking care of himself, all that stuff. And all this time she's living with her best friend, and from college and stuff. And so I thought we were going in the right direction this season. Like her roommate is getting into a relationship. She's in a relationship. Like it seems like they're going to end the season with them quote unquote growing up and going and living with their partners and that sort of thing. And by the end of it, they both screwed it up because of kind of immature behavior, fear, all that sort of thing. And the two of them kind of are left together again, still. And it was interesting because at first I was really angry, and then I was like, well, that does happen, but what are we learning about these people? What did I just spend 3 seasons learning about, especially this character that she plays? And I'm not sure that I did learn anything I'm not sure that she learned anything when it turns out, which kind of upsets me even more.
Well, but that's some people, right?
Well, yeah, but I think I'm not a fan of that. For some reason, I do like my arcs, and I like to see the awakening or a change or a realization. And I thought it was there, but then not so much. And it was I was really, really shocked at what I consider an immature move happening towards the end of this last season. I was just like, I can't believe she's behaving like this again. Yeah. So it was like, I don't know. I'm saying I really love the show. I definitely recommend people watching it. But I'm still like, what was that there that just kind of leaves me feeling not happy and not satisfied with this? And maybe that's okay. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, I loved Adie Bryan in this. All 3 seasons, she was great. Everyone in the show was really good. It was very interesting, but I'm still not sure. And I think this was originally a book as well. And I don't know if all seasons were part of the book or just the first one. I have no clue. But anyway, so Shrill on Hulu. It's now over, but the 3 seasons are still there to watch.
Okay.
And the final show we're going to talk about is The Queen's Gambit.
Oh, yeah.
So, obviously I watched this way back and talked about it. That was last year, I think. And, but as we're going through things, trying to find things to watch, this was one that I kind of, put out there to John, like, hey, maybe you want to watch this. And not only did we watch half of it together, you went and watched the last couple episodes on your own.
Yes.
Which he never watches television by himself.
Right. Correct.
And like when he went to bed, you ended up like, I was getting all ready to watch the finale, like dinner, and you're like, "Oh no, I watched it last night." Like I had no idea.
Seen it.
So that's actually very surprising. So why don't you go ahead and give your opinion of The Queen's Gambit?
Oh boy. Okay. So it was another one that kind of drew me in, and partly because of the subject matter. I played a lot of chess when I was a kid. My brother had a chessboard and taught me to play, and he was really good. So we had some good matches, and I remember chess fondly. So when this was kind of the point of the series, or the catalyst, it was like it fascinated me and it drew me in instantly.
Yeah. But I will say, even if you know nothing about chess, somehow this draws you in. Yeah. And you have, it's the weirdest.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing, because honestly, I even said that in the beginning. I was like, how drawn into this are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, you are instantly.
Yeah. And I've heard that a lot about this show. I was drawn in because of, something in my past. So I can't relate to that, but I can see it, because just the way they did it and set it up, like the first episode or two was very fascinating. Mm-hmm. And this did have, so the first several episodes did have a lot of backstory.
Yeah.
And origin, I guess, which I'm typically not a fan of. I really like to stick to the subject matter, and I like whatever it's about, this being chess, I want that to be what's on the screen all the time. That's typically how I am, and I know it drives you up a wall.
Yeah.
And this is where we differ a lot, because you are all about the backstory and...
Well, not always. It just has to be done right.
Well, okay, so learning the why is much more important to you than it is to me.
Yeah.
However, having said that, I was really interested in her life, in how, her... Just the way they did it was perfect to me. showing her, spoiler alert, in the orphanage and all, how she became, hooked on the things she became hooked on and what they did for her versus, being detrimental. And so one of the themes of this series is addiction. And what it showed was an understandable reason for why some people get addicted. In other words, you saw what it did for her and why she did it, and it was almost a part of her regimen.
Yeah.
For being able to think about chess the way she felt she needed to.
Right.
So it wasn't just because it gave her a high.
Right.
It was because it allowed her mind to literally open up, to literally see things.
Right.
So you get kind of a relatable reason.
Yeah.
Which was more than a lot of storylines about addiction. So that was really good. And as it progressed and watching her just kick everybody's ass for a while was just really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
And her attitude, about it was, being in the very beginning even towards the end being kind of matter of fact about it, was really interesting to see how somebody, somebody who's so maladjusted to society, went about their business, in the midst of society and regardless of whether they were there or not, was kind of how.
But I also love the support that the other players eventually gave her as well.
Wow.
As maladjusted as she was to really having friends, that they still showed up, which I appreciate because, again, people such as us, me, that is maladjusted to society, when you have someone who still shows up all the time or still asks you, even though they know the answer is always going to be no or whatever, it's nice to have those people around sometimes who just know what you need in the moment.
Sure, 100%.
And she definitely, she went through a lot. And again, I think this was a book, super interesting. What a story, It feels so real.
Yes.
It feels like it's a true story.
Right.
Yeah. There's nothing fictional feeling about it.
Yeah, it had me anyway, just about going to Google to see, did this really happen?
Right.
Because there were real people in it.
Yeah.
Characters and mentioned and stuff like that. And, you never knew what was. If you didn't know all about the whole history of chess, which I don't think anybody does, you're not sure. They blurred it, blended it so well.
Yeah.
I will say that I loved the first 5. There were 10 episodes of this.
Oh, I think there was like only 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Okay, I loved the first 5 episodes of this, and then the 6th just really pissed me off. I just did not like it at all. And I think obviously
her self-destruction.
Her self-destruct episode.
Yeah.
Really annoyed me. And actually, I had, for a fleeting moment, I was like, that's it, I'm done with this. And then almost instantly, which is rare for me, I instantly thought, no, I need to watch the next episode as soon as possible to get the bad taste out of my mouth, and I'm sure it goes up from here, because she was literally hit rock's bottom. So I did, and that's kind of what propelled me to watch the last couple episodes, kind of on my own.
Yeah.
And of course, spoiler alert, it ends on an incredibly high note.
Yeah.
And like you already mentioned, a lot of the people from her past, the people who wanted to be her friend that she just kind of didn't know how to allow to be her friend or be friendly to, came through for her in the end. And you really got a sense of appreciation from her. Yeah. And it was very validating and vindicating to see and to watch her to watch that area of her just kind of open up a little bit. Right. Was really nice. And kind of the payoff, I guess, of the series.
But there's also the whole discussion of, like you obviously go to Bobby Fischer and, like they talked about her mother, the genius, the coin of genius on one side and crazy on the other. Yeah,
insanity on one side, genius on the other.
And that painting that picture of someone like a Bobby Fischer in such a way, where you can kind of see the real person and see kind of how to be genius. You can't, it's hard to be a lot of things, right? And just like how the brain works and how the brain functions, and if she's not playing chess and if she's alone, that self-destruction kicks in with the drinking and the drugs, and because there's nothing else to do. It's not like she can just turn on the TV and relate to anything, so it's a very interesting look at kind of the brain, and however you want to clarify her and whatever you think she may be suffering from or she may have. I don't think there's just the genius there with nothing else going on, but it's a very good look though at like her ability to still go out in public and be cordial to people,
right?
Even though she really probably doesn't understand people as much either. And you even saw that with her adoptive mother and all of that. There was always that kind of, I don't know, that back and forth of weirdness with people, but put her in front of the board and it's just perfection.
Yeah, I mean that was her home.
Yeah,
her happy place.
Right. And the weird thing with that too is she was an intuitive player. And to be intuitive, you have to be able to connect to the person who's across from you, and she could, but not in a conversation, not in a way that most people do. Only she could connect with how they were going to play, and maybe what their next move was. Her
only connection was through how they were playing and how they played it.
Right.
Allowed her insight.
Right into the person.
It was nothing about what most of us. The social cues that most of us pick up on. Right.
Or even the other players, like even the Russian dude where they're like going into her background and trying to figure out who she was as a person. Like that didn't matter to her. She didn't care who was sitting across the way.
Right.
She would figure it out as soon as they started playing.
Right.
It was just so well done. She's hosting SNL next weekend.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely watch that.
So
good for her.
Yeah, she's great. She was in the main thing I ever knew her from before this was the sequel to not Glass, the middle one.
Oh, No. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she was the girl that was kidnapped, that James McAvoy kidnapped in the second one, and then she returned in Glass to befriend him again. But
I
anyway,
totally don't remember her.
Yeah, that was the main thing, and then she did the remake of Emma, but she was just flawless in this. I loved it. So,
but nothing rhymes with Emma. Sorry.
Your name poses a dilemma.
Yeah.
And here we go into Friends.
Yep.
Into Friends.
Every episode.
Okay, so that's everything. So that's Queen's Gambit. That's still on Netflix. Definitely go check it out.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to now discuss Stanley Tucci, who has a series on CNN, Searching for Italy, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
My mother has loved it and watched it and kept bugging me. And so I finally got them all on demand. And we watched the first one, which was Naples. And he just kind of goes around different parts of Italy and cooks food and discusses their food, discusses the different parts of Italy and what's going on there, and looks hot as hell. I mean...
Well, turns out he's Italian.
Well, Stanley Tucci. I mean, we kind of knew that.
I know.
But I've had a crush on Stanley Tucci, and honestly, I can talk about it. It's not in one of my it's in an honorable mention, but It Could Happen to You. That was the first time I ever saw him, and I had an instant crush on him from that movie. He was totally like buffed out doing like chin ups, and I was like, oh yeah, he played such a smarmy guy in that, but I loved him. So yeah, and it continues.
Okay.
So let's get started. Movies you love.
Okay. So I got 3 of them.
Okay.
Spotlight.
That's mine too.
Yep. America's Sweethearts.
That's on mine too.
Yep. And The Terminal.
Nope. I've got that under like.
Yeah.
So Spotlight is one of those weird movies that is not on TV all the time, but
right.
I put it on Netflix and watch it all the time, which isn't something that happens very often.
Yeah.
But I will put it on when I'm just kind of like, what? And it pops up.
Yeah.
And I can always watch it. It's such a heavy movie, but God, it's one of those that you can always watch.
It's so well done and so well acted.
And he's so good in it. Everyone's great in it, but he's also so good in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing for both of us, to the point where I don't know how many times it's happened, but you'll be sitting in the living room or something. I'll be somewhere else in the house. You'll run across it and you got to put it on. So you're watching it. I will eventually pass through the room, see that it's on. I sit down and we just both watch the rest of it.
You can't help it.
Yeah.
It pulls you in.
It's one of those for us.
Yeah.
if it's on, we gotta watch it.
Right. It's
Yeah.
so good. America's Sweetheart, same thing. Billy Crystal wrote this movie that I just love. I watch all the time.
Mhm.
Stanley Tucci's not a big part in it, but the part that he's in, again, that kind of smarmy, just nasty studio owner, he just cracks me up in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then The Terminal, which is under my same thing. He's so mean.
Yeah, but
He's so mean.
He's mean, but he's Stanley Tucci mean, which which isn't like other people's mean. I
guess.
Yeah, he's not like Clint Eastwood mean. He's Stanley Tucci mean.
Yeah.
Which is far easier to take.
Yeah.
So
my third under love is Julie and Julia. That's that's one of mine that if it is on, I have to stop and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Meryl together, just like in Devil Wears Prada, you can't. They're just so good together.
They do seem like an old married couple.
Yeah, they're just so sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that movie.
Yep.
Okay, movies you like?
The Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
Speaking of him and Meryl, The Hunger Games.
Okay.
And Burlesque.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have Burlesque under Secretly Love, but mine's exactly the same. Hunger Games, Devil Wears Prada, and then I had The Terminal.
Okay.
Yeah, Devil Wears Prada, we know everyone loves him in that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Hunger Games too. He's so
he's so good at that role.
Yeah, again, just that thing where he walks this line between mean but your friend, but not really. He's just
He's like Jeff Goldblum in Ragnarok. Same
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's got an edge to him. He's mean and
yes.
Really almost sentencing people to death, but in a really fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything under movies you hate?
Again, hate is a strong term.
Okay.
Dislike. The Lovely Bones.
Aw.
Yeah. It's not that's not my thing. I don't care for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, I did not like it.
Okay. I have Muppets Most Wanted. Honestly, I don't remember him in it. I don't really remember the movie. I think I turned it off halfway through because after the Muppets with Jason Segel, this was not at all good. And
it shouldn't have been made.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. So I put that there. And then also the Children Act. I did not like that movie one bit. So, okay. Secretly Love?
Julie and Julia.
Okay.
Yeah, that could have been anywhere on my list. I mean, love, whatever. It's one of those that, again, if it's on, we'll stop and watch it. It's kind of a sleeper movie for a lot of people. It's not one that immediately jumps to mind, but it's so good. Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
That's all you have?
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. So I have Burlesque here, which again, Stanley Tucci playing the gay guy. It's like we've seen it a million times now. He does that, and hopefully that'll stop now.
Well, to the point where you forget he's not gay.
Okay.
For me.
Oh, okay.
For a long time, I just thought he was.
Oh, okay. That's good then.
Yeah.
I also have Easy A. As much as I love that movie, him and Patricia Clarkson, the scenes where they play her parents, those scenes are my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
The two of them are so hysterical in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So had to put that in there.
Sure.
And then Limetown, which was a Facebook series from last year or the year before. He's an integral part of it. I'm dying for a second season. I have not heard anything about that. It was with Jessica Biel, and it was the town that had disappeared. All the 300 residents disappeared overnight. Oh, great series. He was so good in it, so I had to put that on here because I just love that series. And that's it. So, embarrassed you haven't seen?
Big Night.
What is that?
With him and Tony Shalhoub, where they own a restaurant and they have one chance to save it. They're having a big event or something. And
how old is that?
Mid-90s, I think.
Him and Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I actually didn't know about it until I went through IMDb doing the research for this, and I saw it and I'm like, him and Tony Shalhoub. So I looked at the the write-up on it. I didn't watch the trailer, but I looked at the write-up and I'm like, oh man, that looks like it should be. It looks like it should be good.
Right.
Obviously don't know, but it looks like it should be.
Okay. Any others?
No, that's it.
I didn't have any adding to your watch list.
None.
I didn't have any either, but I do have my
Honorable mentions?
Yeah.
What?
So First It Can Happen to You. Lovely movie. Nicolas Cage. You know.
Okay.
Jury Duty. Because he's like, first off, everyone knows I love Pauly Shore, but he's a big part of that movie. And I like him in that.
Okay.
I think he's Frank. Is he Frank in that? Midsummer Night's Dream. That was my first introduction, that movie version. It's Kevin Kline and Callista Flockhart and Michelle Pfeiffer and Stanley Tucci. He plays Puck, and I had never seen it before. I had read it, but I had never seen it. And I especially his version, and Kevin Kline in that is so good. So love that. Road to Perdition, he's great in. Made in Manhattan, he's got a little part. Shall We Dance? I'm surprised you didn't have Shall We Dance on there.
Yeah.
Huh. I had Lovely Bones on here as a good thing.
Boo hiss.
Captain America, the first Avenger, he's a big part of that. So,
Okay.
Something you haven't seen.
Yeah.
What? I can't read my writing.
How embarrassing.
Oh, Beauty and the Beast, the live action. I don't even remember who he is, but I put it on here. So, anyway.
Very memorable performance.
Yeah, sorry.
What was the first thing you saw him in?
It Could Happen to You.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with Bridget Fonda and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, okay.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I predictably haven't seen it. I know. But the first thing I saw him in, I don't think is one that you've seen. I think the first thing I remember him in is The Jackal.
Oh,
with
yeah, I
Bruce
haven't
Willis.
seen that.
And he plays
The Jackal?
No, he plays it's a small role. It's like it's like this. He's a contract killer that kills someone for somebody. And that was the first thing I saw him in. Yeah. So
Cool.
kind of a random little bit of
remembering.
trivia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, definitely a longer episode this week.
We suspected it would be.
I am watching a ton of shows though that streaming and all of that will be ending in the next few weeks. So we're definitely gonna keep this going a little bit longer and have until all these shows are finishing up, because there's a lot of good shows I'm watching.
Okay.
That I'm really Mosquito Coast and Hacks is a new one that just came out. I really liked. So there's a lot of stuff going on that's good right now. So we will be back in a couple weeks then, and until then I'll be watching my stories.
Sounds good.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.